Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Coin Republic podcast. My name is Shur Bacharya. Enterprise level blockchain has an important part to play in the development of Web3 as a general. Let me explain that a bit further. You got these Web3 communities. They're obsessed over decentralization. They don't want big corporations like Meta, Amazon, Ericsson, Vodafone to take over the Web3 economy because it goes against the tenets of decentralization. But at the same time, when these big corporations invest their time, energy, and their human resources and their R&D into blockchain technology, it eventually elevates this progression of Web3 in general. So to understand these things practically and to understand if the line between centralization and decentralization will thin down in the future with the advent of future-proof technologies like synthetic data and artificial intelligence. Also, if big corporations are gearing their policies practically towards the Web3 friendly technology and connecting it properly with their economic and ESG and CSR activities. All of these questions in depth, we're going to answer with the perfect person. He is the current blockchain head of Ericsson. He has worked with companies like Morales, one of the hardcore Web3 companies. He's also currently a part of Corda Foundation. It is my honor to introduce you guys to the screen with the one and only Mr. Giovanni Fronzese. Welcome to the screen, sir.
Hello, Surab. Hello to you and all your followers. I am very proud to be with you, so thanks for hosting me.
It is an honor. I have so many questions to ask. You're currently in Sweden, correct? Stockholm.
Yeah, I am in the snowing and the cold Sweden. Yes, that's right.
They say Sweden is quite Web3 friendly. Is that correct?
Well, Sweden, yes, it's a very advanced country from a technology perspective. And, for instance, I don't use paper money anymore here. And we didn't even introduce cryptocurrency yet. So we are Sweden is quite advanced already.
It is advanced. Let's dive deep into this. We have heard some controversy. I don't know if this is real or not. You have spent around 17 years or 17 plus years in Ericsson. You are
23.
Planning to leave.
23 to be more precise, yes.
Okay. So there's a controversy going around. I don't know. They're saying that you're leaving. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. After 23 years of Ericsson, it's time to take another challenge. But I will tell you a little bit later after all this discussion, right?
Well, absolutely. Let's talk about let's go wind the clock down a little bit. Let's go back in the past a little and talk about your educational background. You've learned about smart contracts, altcoins from University of Nicosia, and also have done professional study and a few courses from Stanford and MIT X Pro. By the way, you're currently a facilitator at MIT X Pro as well. So what drove you toward this field of crypto and how was your experience in it? What led you to teach it finally?
Okay, so it's a long story, actually. I will try to make it short. But basically, as a passionate about technology, my start was with the white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2008, right? October 2008, more or less. So that striking document called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, right? And not exactly in 2008 or 2009, where I was at the time still for Ericsson, I was in Johannesburg. So extremely busy, but I noticed this interesting paper talking about proof of work, mining, decentralized network, cryptographic keys. So all concepts which were kind of new, but well, not very new, but not in a contest to make all of them linked together to provide an electronic cash system. So I started from there, learning about Bitcoin, which is the very first blockchain implementation, and it's still the reference for all. You know, even now, teaching at MIT, as you mentioned, my recommendation is always to learn Bitcoin, because that is the ideal platform, is the ideal foundation of all blockchain implementation. So starting from there, but then taking other courses, like as you mentioned, at the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. The training was called Digital Currencies, and the University of Nicosia was the very first university globally to launch a digital currency official course. And then many others, Duke University and Stanford and so on. I mean, blockchain is a never-ending learning, and it's never enough. Every day you need to learn new things, right? So it's a very long path, very exciting for those of us loving blockchain or loving technology in general. So yeah, it's a very long path of learning, I have to say.
And I agree with you. I can vouch for a few people in Cyprus. I think that's a country where has a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. We're going to potentially interview one of the ministers of science and technology from Cyprus. So thank you for pointing that out for me. I'm going to use it as a question. First digital currency. So this was back when? When did you do this course in Nicosia?
Well, maybe it was 2015 or 2016. Wow. I don't remember exactly, but it was the very first university globally going with a digital currency official course. And one of the teachers there was Andreas Antonopoulos, which is one of the main evangelists of Bitcoin, YouTuber, public speaker. I mean, for us in blockchain, I think everybody started with mastering Bitcoin. It's the book we all start with the foundation, right? So Andreas Antonopoulos was there. Teaching at the Nicosia University. It was a very great learning experience, even because it was not only from a technological point of view, but covering really end-to-end business, regulatory aspects, and so on and so forth. So
did they talk about smart contracts and all that? Was these concepts there in the?
Yeah, sure, yes. Even though I have to say, Andreas is more a fan of Bitcoin more than Ethereum. But yeah, the course was actually on blockchain technology overall.
Right. Let's talk about Ericsson. Can we? 23 years. If I look at your profile, I did stalk you a lot. So you started as a product designer of some sort, and then you worked in different divisions like sales, UI, UX, marketing. Then you around what really interested me, and I do have a question about it. You played before you joined the blockchain head. You worked in the AI field a little bit. That was one of the fields. So I do
Yeah,
have a
well,
question about AI.
yeah, good point. Actually, AI was my previous love
Yeah.
before blockchain. And
Okay.
actually, I worked and studied AI, neural network in particular. At the university, I was research for a couple of years at the university, continuing my thesis study on neural networks. And actually, yeah, almost more than 25 years ago, it was the winter time of AI. It was not as popular as today. 25
Right.
years ago, maybe you were not even born,
Yeah,
Surav,
kind of not.
but
No.
25 years ago, we didn't have AWS, we didn't have Azure
Wow.
Cloud, so we didn't have all this massive data. We didn't have this massive computer power. So we had to do all on the lab. But it was a super exciting experience beyond the time. Beyond the
Right.
time, because when I studied there at the university, we came up with a super nice solution in order to detect the cancer at the looking at the cells with an accuracy 25 years ago of 90-70%. 97. Now look at this, because maybe this is a funny story. At the end, when we talked to the oncologist at the hospital, and we
Right.
showed the results of
Right.
predicting the cancer with an accuracy of 97%, you know, those doctors said, okay, guys, but if we let AI to do the job, what I will do?
That's
So
oh my God,
you
that
see,
was the question that
so
I'm about to ask.
it,
Yeah.
it was really beyond the time. And you know, sometimes you can have the most advanced technology, but if you are not in the right timing, okay,
Mhm.
you need to wait a little bit. So 25 years ago, it was
It was a
really,
big deal. It was a
yeah,
big deal. Yeah.
too early,
Too early.
because now I
Now,
see.
yeah, everywhere I go, they're talking about ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, YouTube. It's ChatGPT. Now there are dedicated LinkedIn pages just talking about different AI platforms that could like do all sorts of prompt related activities. Now they do warn us that we will lose our jobs and it's catastrophic. Using all of it 25 years ago, I want to ask, where does it fit in the economy? And with blockchain technology, how does will it be the end of mankind as Elon says it, or will it progress it?
No, I see all the things in a very positive way at the end. In the sense, you see, you can delay the technology advance, but you cannot stop it. So 25 years ago, they delayed to introduce a so sophisticated system based on the AI. But after 20 years, if you see all around in the medical healthy systems, then you see now this kind of solutions are quite ordinary. So you can delay the technology, but you cannot stop it. Technology has its own way. And at the end, we humans, we are so flexible that we adapt to all the situations, right? So this is what the history teaches us, meaning yeah, there will be some moment of disruption. Someone will lose the job, but later on we will adapt ourselves to do other job, and the other job will emerge, and there will be other opportunities, right? So, but all in all, I mean, for every new technology, there are pros and cons, right? It's up to us to use the technology in the right way. But overall, I am always very positive, and the balance. But I mean, it's not just my thought here. It's proved by the history. At the end, the balance is always positive. Is always positive. So I am quite convinced AI, blockchain, quantum
Right.
computing, they will all improve our life. Of course, they will. There will be also some drawbacks. Someone using such technology in a evil way, but overall, it will bring a new perspective, new advancement for the whole humanity. I am
So back in the day when the doctor said, what are we going to do? How did you answer them? What did he say?
no, well, uh, I don't remember, to be honest, but I was a little bit shocked at that time because I was extremely young, fresh from the university studies, and for sure I didn't expect such kind of resistance. So it was maybe my very first input to the reality, right? Because at that time I was still at the university, and I didn't expect such answers. But if I would meet this guy again,
Right.
yeah, well, um, my comment would
Would be
be,
different.
yeah. You see, you stop at us, you stop at the technology advancement, but at the end, you just delayed it. You delayed
So
because such solutions now they are well spread all over. My
right.
disappointment is I could have become rich at the time, right? Because I think 25 years ago we were extremely advanced, and actually this experience I mentioned was in collaboration with the Berkeley University. So it
Wow.
was my university in Italy, uh, partnering with the Berkeley University. They were the ones providing the data, all the images of the cell, but we were the one at my university, and me and a few other colleagues making the model. And AI 25 years ago is still today. It's very empirical in the sense. There are best practice, but I remember the hundreds of experiments I had to do in order to understand how many layers of neurons I have to add, how deep, how wide to create the neural network model. Now, today we know, but because we made tons of experiments, and we know the most effective way to make the neural networks. But at my time, I had just to try, see the results, and then go for the best possible model.
So how's Ericsson focused towards AI and synthetic data now? At the moment, are they prepared? I mean, are they invested in it? They want to go with it in the future? It's going to be a part of their core policies.
Well, Ericsson is super very well equipped now with AI. We use AI extensively, to be honest, all over. So sometimes it's very visible, sometimes it's not. But AI is another massive technology that we use. We use a lot. But again, the expertise, my expertise was in
Blockchain.
still is in the blockchain.
Mhm.
right?
So let's talk about it. I mean, 23 years, you're
Yeah.
about to leave. Uh, where to next? Is it gonna be AI? Is it gonna be DeFi? Is it gonna be a hardcore blockchain? Because remember, you've worked with you're a board member at Morales, hardcore Web3 company, Corda Foundation, one of the, and then you spoke at events like IEEE, and you're quite active with these blockchain startups. So where are you heading towards?
No, I cannot disclose yet, but of course, I will remain in blockchain because blockchain is still an emerging technology, right? So
Mhm.
there are still many things to do, still many problems to solve in blockchain, but it's an emerging technology with a lot of benefits all over. I can tell you what I love now the most. Then I can tell you what we have been doing in Ericsson and how did I start all this blockchain story. Eh,
Mm.
so I want to focus my next steps in decentralized finance.
Mm.
Blockchain was born with Bitcoin to address financial and bank issues, right? So it was born in 2008, where we had the massive financial crisis, at least in the Western. And still is a technology extremely focused on financial services, so to say, or cryptocurrency. Uh, the way I used blockchain in Ericsson is a little bit different.
Mm.
Uh, well, maybe I can tell you a little bit on how did I start, so maybe it can be also some
Please,
sort
please.
of inspiration for people like me working in big corporates where innovation is never easy. Innovation in big corporates is never easy. And we know most of the time innovation in big corporates happens through acquisition, right?
Mm.
How did I start in Ericsson? At the time, there was no focus on blockchain. I started maybe 6 years ago, more or less. I was in a team dealing with innovative technologies. So Ericsson, in this perspective, is really structured in the sense there are team like this focusing on potential new technologies. And I had in mind to use blockchain. Um I studied blockchain for my private stuff, as we discussed at the very beginning, right? I had knowledge on blockchain to the point I wanted to invest in Bitcoin and a few cryptos. But before investing, I wanted to understand the technology because I didn't want to risk my money. So I said before starting trading and buying any Bitcoin, let me understand how this technology works. And then I went through all the courses that we mentioned, University of Nicosia, and so on and so forth. And then I mastered the technology. I knew, I came to the point to know Bitcoin quite in deep, in bits and bytes, I have to say. And then I
Mm.
started trading. Then, from a work perspective, I was in this innovation team, and I had the chance to decide which technology to look at. And I decided to invest in blockchain. And then some ideas that came on top of my mind, which was
Mm.
to use blockchain in order to bring all the parties together in
Mhm.
business processes. And in big corporates like Ericsson,
Mm.
the only way to run those big corporates is through business processes. Everything is coded in business processes, both internally and externally. The point is, all those big processes, they run in silos, despite they have to collaborate and they have to cross each other at the end. But I have realized, after all such long experience within Ericsson, all those processes, they were run in silos and requiring a super big effort when you needed to bridge or merge some of those processes. Look, for instance, all the processes where we sell things to our customer clients, where we also require to have some support from other parties, right? I mean, how do you manage to bring all the things together? And in business, there is no trust between the parties. It's not needed, but there is no trust between the parties, and all the things they run in silos. So there is no traceability, there is no visibility, there is no trust. And then I thought, and I think this was the intuition. I thought we can build up a transparent blockchain platform between parties involved in a business process and see how it works. So we started internally with an internal financial process, which is called intercompany invoice. It's very well known in finance. Basically, it's a settlement process between purchase orders and invoices. At the end, those two flows, they were run in parallel. And then there is another very well-known process, which is called the reconciliation, where you have to combine those two flows and check the inconsistency. And since you run those two flows in parallel, there are a lot of inconsistency. That means you have to rework, right? You have to rework again with the waste of time and money and the people involved. So by using blockchain, we made the settlement in order to avoid the reconciliation. So all those processes, they were on the same platform with the right visibility. Now, maybe this is also good for your audience to know. Here, all the experience within Ericsson and like all the big corporates, we don't use a public blockchain most of the time. We use a private and permissioned blockchain, right? Which is different.
Could you, if I have a small cross question over here, how sophisticated, how big, and how secure is Ericsson's private blockchain?
It's extremely secure, right? In the sense, and this is the reason why we decided not to use public, because public is risky. Because in public,
could you give me one underlining difference between a public blockchain and a private blockchain, like technically, what differentiates it?
Well, first of all, public, everybody can get access, right? So in Bitcoin, for instance, then you download your wallet. Nobody has to authorize you to be part of the network. You can buy, or you can ask a friend to send you some Satoshi or Bitcoin if you have very good friends to send you entire Bitcoin, right? But then you are part of the network. Nobody has to authorize you. Private is private, meaning you can get access to the network only if someone authorize you to be part of the network. This is also called a permissioned. So it's not only private, meaning you need to be invited to be part of the network. So, but it's also permissioned. Bitcoin is permissionless, and the difference between permissioned and permissionless is in permissioned blockchain platforms, you are part of the network, but you are characterized to do things in the sense you will have a role, and there are in a permissioned blockchain platform, you can have, for instance, only the read role, but you cannot write the ledger. Or, for instance, you can set your account in order to have only visibility on few things rather than the full visibility of all the things. So the private and the permissioned blockchain platforms, they have very secure capabilities. The criticism is somehow it's controlled, which is true in the sense you have a certificate authority, which is, it's a central point of control. And, in the blockchain in general, wherever you have a central point is never good, right? Because the benefit of blockchain is the distribution of any responsibility. So there isn't only one responsible for something in a pure blockchain platform. Look at, again, as a reference to Bitcoin. In a private blockchain platforms, yes, indeed, you need some sort of control. But it was necessary for me because when I started, there was no solution in place.
When was that started? When did Ericsson adopt its private blockchain first? What was the year?
So I started saying this was an innovation project, right? It didn't mean we immediately introduced the blockchain. So it was an innovation project in order to understand if this technology was mature enough to bring this technology in the so-called enterprise architecture blueprint. Big corporates, they have a blueprint of enterprise architecture where you have the technologies enabled to work in a enterprise environment, and blockchain before me was not there. So in order to have a technology approved by the enterprise architects in charge of the blueprint of the company, you need to go through tens of forums, security, enterprise architecture, and so on, in order to bless the technology. So I proved it to work because, as I said, I started with this project, a financial project. 180 countries involved, so it went quite global quite easily. But we started with a proof of concept. The proof of concept worked quite well. Then we moved to MVP, a minimum viable product. And when the stakeholders, which were internal stakeholders, they were happy with the solution, then we moved the solution live. But before going live, meaning in charge of the process, of the business process I mentioned at the beginning, I had to have the bless from the enterprise architecture responsibles. And that was the very first blockchain solution for Ericsson, the very first. Even though, this is a company, 100,000 people, most of us are engineers or technical people. And before me, I wasn't the very first trying this technology. I was the first succeeding in this technology. And maybe all this experience you mentioned before in sales, UX, and so on, contributed to make this story at the end successful, because it was not only related to blockchain. Another intuition I think I had was to make the application, the distributed application, extremely appealing. And in order to do that, I involved the user designers in our company.
Exactly. UI, UX, yes.
Exactly. So it was a combination of using blockchain technology in the right way. So that is a must. You have to do that. But it's a condition which is necessary, but not sufficient in order to have success. And this is what I also experience every time I have new guys coming to me through LinkedIn, new startups saying, Giovanni, we would like to show you our solution. And most of the time I realize, yeah, it's very well designed from a pure blockchain and the backend perspective, but bottom line, it's a very bad user experience. And, you know,
exactly.
if you have a bad user experience, then you don't have adoption. Then what is the point
Exactly.
to use the blockchain? Failure, right? So this was, I think, the trick, or one of the key of success to make blockchain successful for Ericsson. So as first, you need to know and understand the technology part, which is blockchain, but then you don't stop there. You need a lot of other things. So I mentioned the user experience, fine, but we also say that this is a private blockchain platform. So where do you install all the nodes? Cloud, right? Cloud. And then you need also the infrastructure. You need to use the cloud environment. So it's a combination of cloud, user design, blockchain, and many other things. Many other things. So that's why I think enterprise blockchain is really struggling. And it's a matter of fact, there aren't so many success stories on enterprise blockchain. Ericsson is very unique in this. And this is what I realize every time I go as a public speaker in such international conference,
exactly.
blockchain. And everybody getting a little bit shocked because it's true. Enterprise blockchain is extremely complex. You know, a public blockchain and all those, for instance, in DeFi, Aave, Compound, Uniswap, you know, all those very well-known applications, right? Yeah, they are conceptually speaking, they are advanced, but from a pure development perspective, think about it. It's just but it's basically deploying a smart contract in an existing network, and then it's over, kind of. Okay. You don't need to care about the reliability of the network. You don't have to build up a network. You rely on the public network, right? So much easier, much easier. But in enterprise blockchain, you have to build up all the things from the ground up, and for each application, actually.
So a lot of the, you know, that whenever I meet someone from big enterprises, they either are bullish on both cryptocurrencies and blockchain, or they're bullish on they love blockchain technology and its application, but they're not a fan of cryptocurrencies. What is your take on that, as well as if in terms of the future of crypto, except for Bitcoin, do you have a few altcoins in mind that you think are doing some good enough job?
Well, as we said at the beginning, right? Blockchain was born with Bitcoin for financial services, basically. Still, blockchain is very focused on financial services. And the big two trends I see now, and this is also the reason of my move from Ericsson after many years, the two big trends are decentralized finance and central bank digital currency, which
CBDCs, yeah.
doesn't mean exactly blockchain, but in most of the cases, the best effective solution is blockchain. And every country here in Sweden, they are also quite advanced. They are really in the front line. They are all moving to digital currency. Or there is
Yeah.
the need to use digital currency. And how do you do that? Yeah, most likely, not necessarily, but very most likely, then you will use blockchain technology. So it's there where I see the most, but there are, as I initiated in Ericsson, there is plenty of room in enterprise blockchain solutions, not meaning cryptocurrencies, but still, for instance, meaning NFTs, tokenization,
Okay.
right? All those
Tokenization, yeah.
things that I also implemented within Ericsson. So we used, for instance, tokenization. We use still blockchain is really an untapped potential. Many focusing on cryptocurrencies. Fair enough. This is the place where the most of the things will develop. But there are important niches like the one I started within Ericsson. The vision I had for Ericsson, which is applicable for all. Think about a company whose business processes, they are all on blockchain. So you will have the full traceability. You have the automation of many things through smart contracts. Still the level of automation in business processes is still quite low, despite in Ericsson we are still very, very advanced. But by using blockchain, you bring that kind of trust, that kind of visibility, immutability. I mean, all the things and benefits of blockchain, which are very well known, right?
So one thing I learned from this answer is that I think there is a difference between enterprise level decision makers and retail investors. Is that enterprise level decision makers, they focus on use cases, they see through the marketing gimmicks. So that's one of the things that I got from the answer. I hope I'm correct. We got a lot of questions. I mean, what do you think about some of the major protocols and decentralized liquidity pools? Do you think banks will eventually catch up? I mean, we're talking about MasterCard, Visa. We were talking about Goldman Sachs, all the investment banks, and all the payment systems. What do you think?
Well, if we look at the total financial market, right, a rough estimation is around $100 trillion. DeFi is around 200 billion. So in terms of market capitalization, I strongly believe the total market capitalization of cryptocurrency will continue to grow over the next 5 years. It's, of course, very difficult to predict where. There are elements that we need to work on, like the regulatory development. Also, the market sentiment will influence, right? We need to solve also some technology problems that we have right now. But regardless, I see great potential in not only blockchain, but in decentralized finance, and actors like MasterCard and Visa. Well, actually, they are already experimenting the cryptocurrencies and how to use blockchain. If you see MasterCard, for instance, filled in already several patents related to cryptocurrency and digital payments. I think in 2021, MasterCard announced also the support of cryptocurrency in its network to allow users for payments of goods and services and so on. And similarly, Visa did the same. So the industry and those big giants, they are all moving to blockchain. There is a funny story that I remember quite well many years ago, where JP Morgan, which we know to be one of the biggest banks, biggest bank globally, they were extremely against the blockchain technology, right?
Yeah.
No, but look at now. They have their own blockchain company, which is called Onyx, and
Right.
they provide blockchain solutions. They are fully involved in all those experiments on central bank digital currencies using blockchain technology. So you see, despite the criticism, but everybody is joining, and it's better for them to join the blockchain technology. And this is of course my view, but everybody criticizing blockchain, I think is because they are extremely scared to be disrupted.
Everybody who is criticizing blockchain, like JP Morgan and all of that, post Lehman Brothers, everybody focused on, hey, what can we do now, guys? All right, what can we do now?
Exactly. It's like the oncologist on this story. All right. So they say no, this technology is not good. But it's better for you.
20 years from now, 30 years from now, the guys working like in the top tier jobs in JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, these are going to be the guys who grew up with blockchain technology. So if they're not the decision makers now, when the decision makers are going to be there, we will see quite a lot of leap in these sectors. So, Mr. Fronzese, what are some of the benefits you see for the traders with the rise in decentralized liquidity protocols?
Well, there are many benefits, and this is also the reason why the traditional finance cannot ignore all the decentralized finance application. So I would start with the reduced fee. In decentralized liquidity pool, typically they have a lower fee than a centralized exchange, since there are no intermediaries involved, right? Second, increased liquidity, because in the decentralized finance, even me, you, everybody, ordinary people can be part of the liquidity pool. There is a transparency, which there isn't so much in traditional finance. It's a permissionless access, so everybody can basically be part of the liquidity pool or be part of the financial services. And as a last point, I would say security, because in the decentralized liquidity pool, typically those are more secure than centralized exchange. Okay. And we know the experience, FTX and many others, right? With the decentralized exchange, the risk and the security risks are quite high. So to summarize, reduced fee, increased liquidity, greater transparency, permissionless access, and increased securities. Those are, for me, the main big benefits for decentralized liquidity.
Gotcha. We talked about DeFi for a while now, specifically from the investment banking part of it. What do you think about DeFi's application in the insurance and lending borrowing sector?
Okay. So this is another good question, Surab. So first of all, let me tell you this. I don't see decentralized finance as a full replacement of centralized finance. So most of the criticism I see, I read, is and mainly coming from the centralized finance, actually, because they feel can be disrupted, right? But rather, I would invite those guys to see the decentralized finance services as a complement. So I don't see DeFi to replace CeFi, rather to coexist. So we will still have
Complement each other.
centralized finance services, but on top we will have decentralized finance services. And this is for several reasons, even because DeFi and the technology behind DeFi uh, goes so fast that there is, I mean, regulatory and law cannot catch up with the speed of those services, of those DeFi services. The growth of decentralized finance is likely to have an impact in insurance and the lending borrowing industry. This I have no doubt about this. For lending and borrowing, DeFi has the potential to disrupt the traditional lending and borrowing industry because this is a peer-to-peer alternative. Even for insurance, I strongly believe DeFi offers new opportunities that can provide greater transparency, as we said, efficiency, accessibility, all those things that the traditional insurance and the lending and the borrowing services today managed in a centralized way, they are not able to cope with.
So what do you think are some of the few projects or applications that are crucial for the development of the DeFi sector?
Well, those I think at the moment they are quite known, right? So we see, for instance, in a decentralized exchange, DEX, this is a key component of the new services. Stablecoin is happening wherever, right? So USDT, USDC, DAI, those are key elements in all those very successful decentralized finance applications. Lending and borrowing, we also said. Another very interesting where now I am trying to focus on are the derivatives platforms like synthetics,
finance futures, yes.
open. Those they enable users to trade synthetic assets that track the price of other assets, stocks, commodities, cryptocurrencies. Those are super interesting. And those platforms, they offer users the ability to hedge their exposure to price volatility and gain exposure to assets that might otherwise be difficult to access, right? Those are, I think, the main protocols to be developed further in the coming future.
So do you think companies like big corporations like Ericsson focuses on Metaverse or NFT just as a marketing gimmick, or do you think it goes beyond that? They focus on the use cases. Are there any technical use cases that the company is interested in with the advent of immersive metaverse and tokenized NFTs?
Well, yes. We both Ericsson, but all the companies, they have been focusing on the metaverse, right? But there are problems still to solve, right? So one of the most critical is, for instance, the scalability. And we know we have some issues to solve on the scalability. Yeah, to mention one, already with the Ethereum, we made a big step forward since we adopted the proof of stake consensus mechanism. But still scalability is an issue. Yeah, there are many options that now we are trying, like layer 2 solutions, sharding, and so on. But overall, scalability is still a super big issue. A second one, which I was also involved in trying to make some standardization, is the interoperability of the platforms, because there are still many blockchain platforms. Yeah, we know the especially in the public one, Bitcoin and the Ethereum are the ones used the most. But if you look at the coin market cap, we have 20,000 of cryptocurrencies and blockchain platforms.
Exactly.
And we need to find a way to make those platforms and application to work together.
Interoperability, yes.
Right. Another one which is also big is regulation. So you see, the crypto are still, for most of the countries, unregulated. So now US, for instance, is regulating the stable coins. But regulation is still another big issue to address. And every jurisdictions, they have their own regulation. So it's a very tricky problem, this one. We need some regulation framework in general, so that everybody can find, every country can find itself in that framework, because at the end we need to protect the end users. We don't want another FTX case to happen with hundred of millions of people losing their asset, right? Security. So we still have too many exploits in blockchain. And lastly, it's the user adoption, right? So we need to make the usage of all the applications that we use in blockchain extremely easy to use, extremely easy, right? And at the moment, we are not there yet. So we need a super easy wallet, for instance. So everybody using Meta, what is the name?
MetaMask.
But yeah, it's super nice. But I want to use MetaMask on the phone. Can you do that? No, you cannot. So I mean, still, you have many issues to solve.
I agree with you. I think they have the MetaMask wallet on the phone, the application. But yeah, it's not like it's they say it's not that secure like a cold wallet. People should. What are your thoughts on cold wallet? Do you think that's more secure path to store cryptocurrencies?
Well, all my cryptos are in a cold wallet. Unless I have some crypto to trade on fly. But you see, even in that case, it's a painful experience. Sorry, it's a painful experience. If I want to use the crypto that I have in the cold wallet, it requires a little bit of effort to move to, I don't know, Binance or wherever, and start trading. So, and I am an expert, right? So we need to make the experience the experience good for dummies, not for experts, right? So this is when blockchain will really flourish, when we will manage to make the experience super easy, not for the experts, but for the ordinary people, right?
Gotcha. I wanted to ask you this question where we touched the topic of AI. Do you think it's time for blockchain growth despite AI and synthetic data growing exponentially?
Yeah, well, this will come, sort of. I have really no doubt this will come. What we need in blockchain is the chat GPT to emerge. We need the chat GPT of blockchain. So we need really, right? So, and maybe it will take still a little bit of time. How long did it take for AI to have a chat GPT, right? It took maybe 30, 40 years, right? So it will take a little bit of time for blockchain, but we are in the good path, I think. We see the first lights already coming from this DeFi, and I am sure with the need of having a digital currencies, then we will see blockchain to become an ordinary technology, like now we use AI. But I don't see the two to be mutually exclusive. So
complementary. Yes.
Yeah. Well, sooner or later, and this is what I had also in mind to do, and I don't think I will have the time anymore within Ericsson. But starting using solutions where we have both AI and blockchain. At the moment, most of the solutions I see, they are either blockchain or AI. But we need to start using solutions with both technologies.
I agree. Final question, Mr. Giovanni. It has been an honor to have you on the show for an hour, but it's compared nothing to the 23 years you gave to Ericsson. But at the same time, you're board members at Morales, which is a hardcore Web3 company. You're part of Corda Foundation. You speak, you read that bookshelf behind you. You teach kids as well, and for the kids who look up to you, including me, I look up to you.
I have a great responsibility now, huh?
Yeah, no, not so journalistic of me, but to say this on the show. But one of the things that we want to know, the secret of commitment. How did you stick with the goal? Because you committed, you persevered, you worked on multiple roles, you shifted your gear, you innovated, you upskilled yourself. This is difficult for somebody who's just starting out. I know you touched on it in the beginning, but before you go, for the kids in particular, right? How do they work for innovative technology for 23 plus years with this much perseverance?
Well, the main driver is the curiosity, and of course you need to love what you do. So I love technology in general. So if you see on my profile, for instance, I told you I started with the AI, then I moved to blockchain. But before blockchain, I also went quite in deep in quantum computing.
Yeah.
Right. So curiosity is the driver first. Second is you need to have resilience, in the sense it's never an easy walk, especially when you pretend to innovate something. You will have super sad and depressive moments, but you need to count on your ability, on your capacity to overcome to the problems. You are the first doing things. Then you need to know it's not an easy path. So you need also to have the mentality to overcome, to challenge. So, but the reward, to be honest, is big. Being, I don't know, the first. I mean, I can tell you, I do what I do because I love to do what I do. But all the success I had, for instance, within Ericsson, I had the privilege to be a so-called top performer, which in a company of 100,000 people, this
Exactly.
happens to only a bunch of people. And, there are plenty of employees that they can close their career without such honor and
So
the
does
possibility.
it take a lot of personal sacrifices as well for the
Of course,
technology? Did you make? Yeah.
of course. I mean, a sacrifice, guys. It's never a super easy path. And my team and I, we know very well all the success that we managed to have for Ericsson required super big sacrifice. We lost tons of hours of sleeping. We lost tons of weekends. Not only me, but I have to say to all my team following me and my vision, they fully embraced. But you need to be prepared to big sacrifice if you want to become a champion, right? You need to train. You need to be extremely disciplined. You need to learn. I mean, it's not
Exactly.
easy, but you need to follow a tricky path.
Passion. Well, Mr. Fronzese, I have to say this. As a journalist, I've interviewed so many people, policymakers, politicians, CEOs, CMOs. One of the things that I've learned today, and from your profile, even before interviewing you, is perseverance. And I do hope that some message goes out to the public. I mean, we appreciate people like you because you have made your fair share of sacrifices and you made a mark on your career for the world, not for your career, for the world. So thank you for that. Thank you for your service. We never said that to the, we usually say it to, people in the military or something, but thank you for your service. Seriously, I mean it. And I wish you all the best. And whatever you do in the future, let's stay connected. I wish you come back again with a new, fresh
We
perspective.
do.
With it. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Please give it up for the one and only Mr. Giovanni Fronzese and his legendary career in Ericsson. I could clap
Thanks,
right now
Surab.
again.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thanks, Surab.
Uh,